Good day, evening, morning, everyone. This is the weekly group discussion for container security. Today is the 11th of January or 12th, depending where you are. And we have a short agenda today. I don't think there are any previous discussions, nothing new to demo, nothing new for planning breakdown. And there's one topic which I will open and share. If my machine behaves. I'm pretty sure my computer problems are the thermal throttling for the Mac OS. Because today's nice and cool and haven't had any problems yet. Anyway, the discussion here is about what do we do? Well, I'm going to state the problem as I see it, and then Brian, please chime in. Whether or not to keep the integration with the starboard operation. So a summary of the situation is that the starboard operator decides when to run the scans and typically runs based on events, pod events. So when a pod is modified or created, it triggers a scan. Those reports are saved as vulnerability report objects in Kubernetes. And then what GitLab does is go and ingest those reports, pulls them either via the container image scanning analyzer or via the agent. And then we publish them in the report. The problem with this is that when somebody creates a policy and we tell them that it's running at a certain cadence, that's not exactly true. All you're doing is fetching the reports on that cadence. You're not executing them. The next situation there is that we can trigger the report to run, but then these reports don't get saved in the same manner as the reports that the starboard operator generates. They get saved somewhere else. And that means we need to go and create an integration for that. So far, so good. Did I miss anything on the problem statement?
We don't really need to create a new integration for the starboard vulnerability report because the output of Trivy is pretty much the same as the reports that we're reading right now. So we can pretty much reuse the existing code. The only difference is that the reports wouldn't get saved in Kubernetes, and I'm not sure if anybody would care because the goal is to be able to see the vulnerabilities in GitLab, right, and manage them from there.
Okay. So what I meant by another integration is a bit of code that tells where to look for the reports. Right now, we only look as a Kubernetes object, and we're going to have to look somewhere else. So I wrote down the three options here. And from a product point of view, Sam has commented in the issue saying that ideally, we'll keep the event-based nature of this. So it runs when it gets updated and created, but an alternative solution is follow the cadence, and at least it's not immediately on the event, but it's controlled. You know that it's going to run within that time period. And the options that I wrote down was, number one, for us to contribute something to starboard, so that whenever a scan is triggered, it records the report in the same location. I'm not really sure if that's feasible, but it would be kind of cool to contribute to that. The other one would be just, I'm calling them integrations, Brian, but keep those two connection points. And the other one is like, hey, we're not going to use the starboard operator. Let's just use the ones that we trigger. And I'm going to open the forum for pros and cons.
Yeah, I would just note that eventually, and I don't know how long it's going to be before this happens, but eventually we're probably going to want to go back to using the operator integration at some future point in time when we have the time and the bandwidth to go figure out how to make these things run when the vulnerability database is updated as a trigger. So that would, we probably want to just consider that long-term vision. Again, we don't even have an epic for that open. It's not on our roadmap. So, if you say, well, that's too far out and we don't want to keep that tech debt hanging around, let's just get rid of it. That's totally fine from my perspective. But just to note that eventually we're probably going to want to come back to that.
I think in that situation, it's less the starboard operator and more a notification mechanism on our side. So when the advisory database gets updated, we don't know about it unless there would need to be maybe a pub sub mechanism to notify people, but the starboard operator wouldn't know about that event anyway, even if we did have it. So I think we would still be relying on the triggered scan, even in that situation, Sam. What I think is kind of cool about the operator is that it gives the user more flexibility in defining, maybe you want to configure that somewhere else. Maybe you want to keep the configuration on the side and you have a policy in your company to configure the operator, and that's okay. We'll just take the reports from it. And the secondary thing that I think it's nice about the starboard operator configuration is that it's event-based. If you happen to run scans every 24 hours or every 2 days, the events are always going to win, because as soon as something changes, boom, you've got a new finding coming in. And when we get to the point where we have notifications for this, then that becomes really powerful. You could be basically notifying users as soon as something pops up, rather than waiting for a cron job to run.
Yeah, what makes this difficult is when we delegate tasks to the starboard operator, we can't really be 100% sure that scans are working correctly. So from a security policy perspective, it's difficult for us to enforce that scans are running when we delegate that responsibility to the starboard operator.
Good point. So then from a policy point of view, if we trigger something, then we'll know the last time when we triggered and it was successful. And then if the starboard operator runs it, you just have a report. Is there a date that we could check on the vulnerability report, maybe?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to check and see, but I mean, I have like a vague memory of there being timestamps on the report.
Yeah. Regardless of that, it sounds like having the being able to trigger reports is something that we're going to want anyway. So the remaining question is whether we want to talk to Aquasec about storing triggered reports the same as the operator, or we'll just consider the starboard operator reports as a sort of added bonus. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Where do we? I'm thinking the way to decide whether or not to do this contribution is to get in touch with them. Maybe we could have a look at the code and see if there's an easy contribution there. If there isn't, then I guess we fall back to the original plan of removing it.
Yeah, I also want to look into the starboard operator and check to see how it behaves when the database is updated. I kind of made the assumption that it runs scans once when pods are created and then never runs them again. But there's a possibility that it might be updating reports when the vulnerability database is updated. Maybe it's already doing that. I'm not sure. So I have no idea how it behaves in that regard right now. So I'm thinking I'll look into that and see, maybe it's already doing that for us.
That's a real good point, Brian, because in my mind here, I was thinking about our own advisory in the GitLab, the Gymnasium one. And I was sort of conflating this with the registry scan. So basically with the registry scan is you update the registry, you're going to get scanned. You update the advisory DB, you're going to get scanned, which just means comparing the BOM again. But on the starboard operator side, we need to do some work to tell the Trivy installation that starboard is using to use GitLab's advisory DB as well. This work is in progress for container scanning, the regular container scanning, but it's not in scope for container image scanning. Cluster image scanning. I think I want to write an issue for that, Sam.
Yeah, it would be good to do those at relatively the same time, because if our results are different between the two, that's going to cause confusion for customers pretty quickly.
Yeah.
In fact, ideally we'd be linking the two up together, but right now we're still just working to get our first GA release of cluster image scanning out. But yeah, we'll want to do that at least as a follow-on to cluster image scanning. Probably not as part of this epic.
Cool. I'm writing that down. I'll take that action.
One other thing I had to note earlier is just if you are still having trouble hearing back from Aqua, you might talk with Mike LeBeau, since he's our partner manager.
Cool. How do I get in touch with him?
Mike LeBeau, he works for GitLab, so you can just message him in Slack.
All right. Sorry, I thought there was an IPSec person. Mike LeBeau.
Also, they have a never mind, I'm thinking of different open source projects. Let me double check and see if they're in like the big Kubernetes Slack working group or something like that too. I know Falco works out of there, and I know Cilium has a public Slack group, so that might be an option too to make your request in a forum where they are more likely to give a response.
I can do that, and then I'll fall back to Michael if I don't get any joy. Brian, what do you want to do out of this, out of these follow-ups?
I think we're pretty good right now. So I'm gonna see how I'm gonna look into how the starboard operator works and see if that changes my opinion at all. But right now, I'm leaning more towards the scheduled scans because I think that would work better with security policies. And I'm also waiting a little bit to see if we hear back from Aqua Security. So if we aren't able to get in touch with them within like a week, then I'll just go ahead with whatever I've got.
Okay, but in terms of the issue, you're not blocked.
No, I'm not blocked. I think I'm situated to move forward.
Cool. Oh, good timing indeed, Sam. I'll jump in there. And this is not in the agenda, but I want to congratulate Sashi. He's got a new baby and he's going to be off the rest of this week. Next week he's back. He's taking his parental leave sort of spread out. So we'll hear from him, but for this week, he's not in. And congratulations.
Yeah, awesome. That is exciting news.
It's a healthy baby boy. Mom and baby are doing fine.
Yeah, I was wondering about the gender.
Yeah, you know, gender reviews are big, man. Gotta people starting forest fires and all about that. All right,
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
don't think they're quite as big in India.
yeah, probably not. I'm gonna stop the recording. Anything else? Nope.
Yep.
Awesome.